put out my first solo studio album, started playing in clubs when I was 15 years old. I put out my first studio album with a band when I was 17. I directed and wrote my first play when I was a senior in high school. I was 18. I started my first theater troupe when I was 20. Put up my first one-man show when I was 21. About a week ago, I turned 43, which means I've been putting in my time for almost 2/3 of my entire life and the whole of my adult life. Just under 30 years. There are many albums and many more bands, many more plays, always working, always hustling. I moved to New York to be Spalding Gray, and I ended up sinking years of my life into a fun little indie band with my best friends. We made a good, honest run for it, but, we never caught. And other bands I was in fared about as well. For a couple of years, I quit my day job to run a children's theater in Tribeca. That was incredible, but short-lived. A for effort.
Gentlemen, you want bacon?
Yeah.
I moved to Alabama because I wanted to be with my son. His mother and I split up when he was an infant, and after missing large chunks of the first couple of years of his life, I vowed it wasn't going to be like that anymore. And it's not. I moved here 7 years ago, and it is wild. It feels like a blip. I've lived here longer than I lived in Austin, which I always felt were important, defining years of my life. A few more years and I'll have lived here longer than I lived in Brooklyn, which made me who I am. And yet, I feel like I'm a visitor. Like I just walked in with my coat slung over my arm and I'm just standing there in the middle of the room. Yes, I live here, but this is not my home. And it never will be. I gave up a lot to move here, and I don't regret it. Or, I do kind of regret it, but I would never undo it. More on that later. I was already doing a work-from-home job when the pandemic hit, so we transitioned relatively easily. And like a lot of people, I started using this extra time at home and this extra money from the government to spruce up the old homestead. I bought a ton of shit, like an amp for my record player, and a CD player, and an aquarium, and a trumpet, and a can crusher, and one of those dopey chairs like the YouTubers have, and a glockenspiel. But the most important thing that I bought with my stimulus money was a 500mm zoom lens for my camera, because I'd started making things. I made a caddy for my Switch games and controllers. I made a carrier/centerpiece to carry citronella candles. I made storage for my records from fruit crates. But most importantly, I saw this viral post about squirrels sitting on teeny park benches, so I made one of those. And I liked that so much that I made a bar for them to frequent. And I added a bird feeder my son and I had made in Cub Scouts, so when the local animals discovered it all, the pictures I took with my camera and my phone, they were underwhelming. So I bought the zoom lens. Suddenly, I was living the good life. It's like before, there was nothing. And after, when I was actually paying attention, suddenly my world was full. And the thing that it was full of was goofy, adorable idiots doing goofy, adorable idiot shit. And I loved it. It is not easy, and I'm not a great photographer by any stretch. But I've loved this challenge because this lens is totally manual, no automatic functions, and it's unforgiving. You need a steady hand or a tripod or totally full sunlight, really all three. And you cross your fingers that you set the shutter speed and the focus just right, because if you did, blow! And if you didn't, I've taken, I would guess, about 10,000 pictures of birds and squirrels in the last 6 months or so. Most of them in my yard and neighborhood, but I've also been known to go on excursions to parks and nature preserves. It sustains me. It gives me joy. In particular, I love taking pictures of Alabama turkey vultures. I could try to wax philosophical about them, about mythology, about them being metal as fuck or whatever, but it's mostly because they're huge and slow. Have you tried to take a picture of a bird before? Man, they're super tiny, and they have heads that are filled with electric water. There's buzz all over the place. They're delightful, but they are also a pain in the ass. Vultures don't move fast for shit. They don't care about you. They have a job to do, and they're enormous. And if you raise a stink, they'll carry your baby or your dog away just to teach you a lesson. After a while, I got familiar with the places they go, with their patterns in the city, and I would chase them down in my car for good aerial pictures. My son hates it.
It's really, really annoying when you turn over just to take pictures of a bird. I mean, it's birds.
I can't help it. I love them. I love that as scavengers, they have a valuable job to perform to clean up our little town. And for obvious reasons, I love them for thriving even when they're unwelcome. For a hot minute, they were the subject of fierce debate in this town. As a large flock suddenly overtook the area near the middle school, and the city debated bringing in hunters to blast them out of the sky. And I was ready for it, ready to further despise this city for something so unnecessary, for something so vulgar. But I was wrong. People got upset about it, and the city backed down. They're still here because there's still work to do. But many already left on their own. That's the whole point of small towns. You leave when there's nothing left. I take pictures of birds most every day. I film my feeders leaning out of the side door of my house, and it's for me. I mean, I'll scan through the pictures on my big monitor, cackle at the good shots, I'll play around with them in Photoshop, and that's the end of the line. I put just the tiniest fraction of them up on Instagram for my friends, but I'm not going to make a book. I'm not going to try to sell prints or license digital copies. I opened a Threadless store at one point and uploaded one single t-shirt design, and it felt gross, so I just left it alone. I walked away. And I mean, I wish I could say that this was all some kind of like principled stand that I was making, but the fact of the matter is that I just didn't want to take another L. I have taken enough for one life. Thank you. So, no world, you have taken enough from me for now, and I need to rest. Especially now that I'm growing comfortable, now that I'm accepting that, yes, I had promise, and drive, and talent, and ambition 30 years ago. And I had dreams of being a respected professional artist, supporting myself and my family with these bold works that I created that would be greatly accepted by the clamoring, hungry masses. And I failed. It's okay. It's okay. I failed. People fail. And that's fine. And, sure, life is unpredictable, and perhaps I'll end up being an internationally famous musician in a few years, and after, many, many unforeseen events and blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind that Leonard Cohen didn't get discovered until he was 144 years old, and forget it, man. I think the main thing is, at this point, it can happen, it cannot happen. But I'm not tethering my happiness to it. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It hurts. But ask me 1,000 times, and I'll make the same choices every single time. I have absolute, unshakable faith that this is the right path. So, I take pictures of birds now, and I love them. They make me happy. And I hope they make other people happy too. And if they don't, I'll get by. I'll be just fine.